Welcome to Sons of Norway, Mandt Lodge. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to Mandt Lodge, Sons of Norway. We are gathered together to celebrate the heritage and culture of Norway, both past and present. We are also here to enjoy the fellowship that is a vital part of our lodge. Well, welcome again, everyone, to another Zoom lodge meeting. We were thinking that in August of 2020, we would be back at the lodge, but once again, here we are. So we had a really good business meeting last week and had a number of items that we discussed, and I'll go through a few of those and then we'll get to tonight's program. So first of all, a big thank you to people who have sent in Sitnamai and lodge donations. We've had 39 total donations representing 51 members of our 238 members, 2 checks via the chamber for a total of $3,987. So thank you so much. Donations are always welcome and can be sent to Jane Connor or right to the lodge building. Last week we had the virtual Relay for Life on August 1st, and a big thank you to all our team members and to everyone who donated money or bought luminarias. Our team raised over $3,000. We can still collect donations for the American Cancer Society through September 15th, and that is the cutoff date when donations then roll over to the next year. So thank you again for your support of that. We also want to thank Dana Kelly, Gary Swain, and Richard Moen for hosting Day on the Prairie in Rockdale last week. They had about 25 people there, so we stayed under the COVID limit for Dane County, and they had a wonderful 2-hour tour seeing the beer caves and where the breweries were, and just going inside a number of the buildings and really having a great time. We also want to congratulate some Mandt Lodge members who sent in pictures for the District 5 photo contest. Diane Melwer was one of the lodge winners in that category, and also special thanks to Jason Jacobson and to Marg Listig, who submitted pictures. So they have all the winners posted on the District 5 website, and information is coming out soon about how to order cards. So they picked the 52 winners. They had like the top 10, and they had some troll picture winners, and then the different lodge winners. Each of the 52 winners will have their image on one of the playing cards, and so you can buy the decks of cards as a fundraiser for the Sons of Norway District 5 Nordic Legacy Foundation. We also have a number of membership certificates and sports medals that we've been holding on to, thinking we were going to be back to the lodge in person to meet, and that isn't happening. So I'm going to work with our sports directors and vice president, and we're going to figure out a way to either make the rounds and present those in person, or do it virtually, or somehow to get those to the recipients. And during this season of COVID-19, we also have welcomed new members into our lodge. So a special welcome to Bob and Jody Kuhn, and to Atsuko and Christian Treloff, who recently joined the lodge. So a lot of the discussion last Wednesday night was on moving forward. It's quite clear that Dane County is going to continue to be on a shutdown for a while. We're limited to 10 people or less inside the lodge, 25 people at outside events. The need to wear masks anywhere in the state now inside buildings really has had some effects on people's thoughts about how and when and the process of opening up again. So we discussed a lot of that at length. We had 2 back-to-back Zoom meetings. At this point, the Rosemelin classes for the fall have been canceled. The Coop tournament was canceled. After we taped the last July's lodge meeting, it seemed like everything kind of fell apart. So that very next day, the Coop tournament was canceled. We also suspended Sunday night Coop. We had a number of increased COVID cases in Dane County. We had some health issues that some involved with Coop were dealing with, and we suspended those. We are not going to do the fall fish boil. We had a lot of discussion on that, and is it possible to do a carry out? Our problem is with our kitchen. There is no social distancing in that kitchen, and we really can't do an event with 10 people or less working in the kitchen, even if we had the people cooking the fish outside. So we have suspended that. And kind of the consensus on the meeting is it's probably pretty clear that we won't be having any in-person meetings probably the rest of the year. We haven't canceled everything, but we're getting to that point. The Scrapbook and Craft Weekend, which is scheduled for the last full weekend in October, is still on. Lori Barrett had reported that she'll keep that class or work weekend to less than 10 people. They won't be providing food for the group. They'll be doing their own. Because each person has their own table, they can social distance those. With food events, again, lots of discussion on how we go about starting up making food, serving food, having food events. And there were several who commented that they really thought we'd probably be back to in-person lodge meetings and events and activities before we even got to serving any food, that they would be basically foodless or prepackaged things at in-person meetings and events. So we have brainstormed how we could possibly make lefse with less than 10 people in social distance, or with donuts. And we had some different discussions about how maybe to do a fall bake sale with some pre-ordering and pre-packaged things and so forth. But there's a lot of details to be worked out. There's also COVID guidelines. I guess now the certification service that most people go through to get certification. Jerry Erdahl has gone through ours, has some new COVID videos to watch. So there's just a lot to learn. So at this point, we decided we might as well sell the meatballs that are in the lodge. I'm going to work on some pricing and some dates and so forth. And we still have a few donuts to sell, as well as the lefse seconds that are for sale. Jens Arneson has shared, he's our foundation director, that he's exploring some options for our October Foundation Month. Typically, we do a variety of in-person auctions, whether they're live auctions, basket raffles, 50-50 raffles, and so forth. We're looking at an online type of auction or a Facebook auction. We discussed possibly ticketed raffle sale tickets, but the problem we have now is no one is going anywhere to see people to sell the tickets and so forth. So he's exploring some different ideas, and we'll have information. It is highly likely, though, he'll be looking for some donations for the whatever type of auction that we have. So in the past, we've had people who've donated handicrafts, rose mulling, hardanger, wood crafts, some packages with gift certificates and so forth. And so he'll probably be looking for those. So the discussion evolved to moving towards not having big events, which obviously we can't do, but to focusing more on small group activities and bringing those into the lodge. And so that's part of tonight's program, looking at cultural and sports programs and some of the things that can be done with that. We discussed doing a survey, and I'm going to put together a survey for the next newsletter, trying to find out what people have an interest in, what they might be willing to get together, whether it's sitting in someone's backyard or a open air porch or less than 10 people inside. We discussed use of lodge facilities for this. There was discussion about possibly closing off part of the lodge and just having the downstairs where we could make sure it's cleaned in between and all the surfaces are wiped down if we know a group has been in there, or how we can go about doing that. And so we'll be looking for some input from you on what your interests are, what you have a liking to do, why you joined Sons of Norway, and how we can tie that into some activities, but also what your comfort level is. Are you, if we did some small group baking, some cookie baking, or tried to do some small group lefse or donut, are you comfortable in doing that? If we try to social distance with the downstairs, is that something you're interested in doing, not interested at all in doing, and so forth. So when you see that survey, I think I'm going to try to do an online as well as a hard copy one. Please try to get that filled out so we can move forward with that. We also had some discussion on the call about the needs of our members, and we talked about membership, and do any of our members have hardships, for example, in paying dues or keeping up with some of their other needs and so forth. Do you need, Joyce Foss, who's our Sunshine Officer, has done a wonderful job of sending out cards and getting in touch with people, and are there other things that people need, whether it's just somebody to come and sit outside and visit, or do some things together, help with some basic chores or something, we'll have some of those questions on that survey as well. Building related, well, since the meeting last week, we've had a few issues down at the lodge. There is evidently some type of crack or something in the furnace for the annex. It's looking like it might be a replacement rather than a major repair. So that will probably chip away at the balance that we have in the building fund account. We also are having some problems with the breakers and our large older freezer, and that freezer is old. It's been around since I've been around, and not that I guess I'm old, but anyway. And so we have some major costs there. You noticed in the financial reports that were sent out, we have a healthy balance in both the lodge accounts and the building accounts. The lodge account will go down. We'll be refunding those in the Rosemelling classes, so that will probably equal about $2,000 that will be going out from there. The building, obviously, if we have to replace a furnace in the annex, that will chip away at that. So anyway, those things, continue to happen and so forth. We are going to switch over to our meeting program, and I'm going to be sharing our screen. So in looking at small groups, Sons of Norway has some wonderful resources, and part of what they offer are our cultural skills program and our building corporation, or our cultural program and our sports programs. I'm still thinking on the business meeting here. So I am going to share my screen, and we are going to go into the Sons of Norway website. So when you go in, if you've never logged into the website, that's something that you're going to need to learn how to do, and that is done in that profile area. And if you've never gone in before, it will walk you through an initial login, and then you'll have your own username and password. That's really important to do, because once you have logged in, you can go back to your profile. If you change your email, or you move, or you have your snowbirds and you go down south for a couple of months and you want to get your Viking and your newsletter and so forth there, you change your email address, you change your phone numbers, you get rid of your landline, the profile is a great place to do that. Then you're going to click on the member resources, and that will take you to a whole plethora of different activities and so forth. But where it'll eventually lead you is to our sports program and our cultural skills program. So we are going to, we might as well start on the sports program. So when you get to that part, you're going to see the cultural program, and all of the cultural skills programs are on there. And a little bit farther down is the sports medal program. And we're going to start with that one. And we have some different areas in our sports medal program for people to self-track things. And so we have the EDRIT, which is general fitness. We have Ski Merca, which is skiing. We have the Svava Merca, which is swimming, and Cycle Merca, which is biking, and Gang Merca, which is walking. So for each one of these, what it has is a fitness record. And this is a log that you fill out. Some of you are familiar with what we did with the virtual walk over to ring soccer and back. The EDRIT is a general overall fitness. So they have a list of different activities, and this is on a point basis. And so it will have points for the different age groups for bronze, silver, and gold. And I'll try to increase this so you can see it a little bit better. And then it'll have, for example, if you're a broomball player and you're playing for 10 minutes, let's say 20 minutes, it's 12 points for every 10 minutes. So if you're playing for 20 minutes, you get 24 points. If you're a jump roper, you can look at 10 minutes and again, 12 points for that. They also have points for a number of other activities. They've been updating a number of these. So I know some of you are pickleball players, some of you are coop players, and so on. We've been asking the sports department to be adding those on, and I know they updated the forms, but this is not the updated form. Once you get these filled out, basically you turn them in to one of our two sports directors, either Jens Arneson or Todd Fossum, and they will send them into the international and get your pins for you. Same thing, if you go to any, this is the Cycle Merca or the biking one, and again, if we expand that, it has for the the different age groups, and then it has, these are in miles. So how many miles you're going, you keep track of that. When you've accomplished the bronze, then you start over with the 0 miles again. When you get up to the silver level, you turn that in. If you have been keeping track and you've just never filled out the forms, you can literally, if you have enough miles or points and so forth, you can literally get all 4 medals at one time and so on. So that certainly is a possibility. The other thing that they have is the Viking virtual pilgrimage. And I'm just going to go back to the main part of this. And what this is it's another type of virtual walk. This is on the International's website. And they started this back in 2013 when it was developed. In fact, I think Anna Grindy, who's from Eden Lodge in Madison, was the one who did the work on putting this together. And so you literally are doing a Viking pilgrimage around Norway. So they have different legs starting in Oslo that you'll walk. It's a total, I believe, of like 300 miles, if I'm not mistaken, that you'll be walking on this journey. And so basically on each one of the legs, it will give you an overview, and it'll have checkpoints of places that you'll be seeing. It has links about those places in Norway, so you can learn about Norway, you can learn about the sites. It'll take you to Google map locations. You can do further reading about what you're seeing and so forth. And so it's a neat way to kind of work your way around Norway. For the, excuse me, let me go back to, I'm getting my tabs kind of mixed up here and so forth. Let me go back to the Viking pilgrimage. They do have a sheet that you can fill out for sending it in. And so it's a record sheet. And so it has, again, let me get that a little bit bigger for you. So you keep track of how many miles you walked and so forth. And then over on the right-hand side, it has for leg A, 12.4 miles, 13 miles, 15 miles. So you can keep track of where you are. And then again, you can be turning those in, and they have a program where you get recognition for that. They also have a list of winners, and they have YouTube videos on it and other reading to help you learn about Norway and so forth. So it's a pretty cool program. And so that might be something as a lodge we might want to do the Viking pilgrimage, or you can do it individually, but it's a way for you to kind of trek across Norway and learn some different things about the Vikings and about the different sites and the heritage and so forth, and still be fit and still social distance and take advantage of this program. The other things that I want to show you are in the cultural skills. And you can see there's a lot of different things in the whole cultural part, but the cultural skills are a wonderful opportunity for you to work on learning a new skill, or if you do that skill on learning some different aspects of it, and kind of a guide into going a little bit more in depth in that. And so we're going to go through the different areas and so forth. For some of our members, and we have a number of you in our lodge who are basically rock stars in rose mulling and hardanger and carving and so forth. So you will easily fulfill the requirements for the different levels in that specific cultural skill. But then you also can move on to a master of cultural skills or a cultural skills mentor. And some of you are already teaching classes and working with people. You're working with students. So I really encourage you to do that. There are some beautiful medals that are a part of this program that you can earn, and there's different bars that you get. We've had a number of members who have done these different ones, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, so how they work. So the different categories that they have are traditional Norwegian cooking. They have literature. They have collecting Norwegian and North American stamps, Norwegian rose mulling, genealogy and family history. They have a knitting one, Norwegian language and culture, hardanger embroidery, figure carving, weaving. They have ornamental wood carving, chip carving, folk dancing, music and musicians of Norway. And they also have some youth cultural skills, which have not as many requirements, and they have those in the areas of figure carving, folk dancing, hand knitting, hardanger embroidery, and Norwegian American stamps. So what I'd like to do is to go into what some of the different ones are. And since we have a lot of members who like to cook and so forth, and I think we probably have 50 members who really qualify for this traditional Norwegian cooking one. This would be a good place to start. There's 3 different areas of it: your favorites, baked goods and desserts, and meat and fish dishes. So one of the cool things that they have on here is a link to a YouTube playlist. And so when you go to that, you can actually watch people who are doing different types of cooking and so forth, how to make fadiman. They've got an oil adventure, how to make lefse, a number of those. Some they've deleted the videos that they've kind of gotten older and so forth. So that's kind of a nice way. And this is for this first one on cooking. So they add those and so forth. But if we go to the actual PDFs for the, I was scrolling down before, so we'll get back up to the beginning of it. This is the traditional Norwegian cooking one, and I'm going to expand this so you can see it a little bit better. And so basically, you can download the units and save those. And the part 1 is traditional favorites. So in this part, you're going to prepare 5 traditional Norwegian dishes. So you're going to be picking 5 traditional recipes. They want you to have recipes that either they have lists that you can use and so forth. They can be prepared at the same time or one at a time. And so basically, once you make the recipe, then they have a review form. So it's something that if you're doing it at home, you can have a spouse or family members or the neighbors come over, other lodge members and so forth. You're just answering these different questions and so forth about that. So they have the 5 different ones that you're supposed to do. And then they have the pin application. So when you fill out the pins for the different cultural skills, you're basically filling out most of the information yourself. And then there is a box that you can either have our lodge cultural director, the chairman of that committee is David Nelson, sign it and date it and so forth, or else a lodge officer. So I can certainly do that as well. So that needs to be done before you send it into the international office. And then they have an evaluation form getting your thoughts about this. The second part of the cultural skills for foods is the baked goods and desserts. And in this one, you're making 4 different recipes, one from each of these 4 categories: fancy cakes, bread, cookies, and dessert or candy. So again, many of our members have already done at least the cookie ones and so forth. And so it kind of goes through again, the different, 4 recipes and so forth. There's elective activities you do. You fill out the form, get it signed and so on. The third part is meat and fish dishes. And on this one, you're preparing 5 recipes for Norwegian meat and fish dishes. 2 of the 5 choices must be chosen from the following: salmon, fiskeboller, gravlaks, fårikål, sylte, lutefisk, fiskepudding, cooked torsk, ribbe, and pinnekjøtt. And so you have to make at least 2 of those, and then the other 3 can be of your choice. Again, they had those pages for you to fill out on each one of the recipes, and then you're filling out the pin request and doing the evaluation forms. So they've also have what they call elective activities. So for each one of those categories, you're choosing some elective activities. And this is where I really think we can be doing some cool things during this COVID time and in some small groups. So preparing a Norwegian luncheon for family of friends, researching the history of one of your recipes, selecting a Norwegian holiday, and you're doing a menu, a number of people you might be inviting, visiting a Norwegian or Scandinavian restaurant or caterer. Well, that may not be as easy to do, but there are a number of ones like Andres Vistad and some of the others who have blogs and online, and I'm sure that we could probably modify, a visit and listen and kind of use the interviews that they do on those for that. Creating a Norwegian meal focusing on a meat entree, creating a Norwegian meal focusing on fish, preparing a heritage dinner for your lodge. Well, we usually do that. This year we didn't get a chance to for Sit and I, but again, some of you more than qualified for this activity. They have ones on planning or participating in a cookie exchange, baking those 7 kinds of cookies, creating a dessert table of 5 or more Norwegian desserts, researching and writing a 1-page article about the history of Romagrot, doing one on Julebord tradition, on lefse, traditional Norwegian berries, take a cooking class that features Norwegian delicacies. Some of you have helped teach those classes for us. List some websites or blogs that have Norwegian recipes. Create a booklet or recipe of at least 15 recipes. Share what you've learned. And this is where I think you could do some Facebook Live posts. You could do a YouTube video. You could do a Zoom video where you're talking about the recipe. You're maybe showing yourself doing the recipe and so on. Sharing what you learned. Do a program or traditional Norwegian cooking for the lodge. And again, it may not be at a lodge meeting, but you could organize a small group to get together. You could do it virtually. You could gather some friends and so forth, but I think this is where we could do that. Creating a lodge cookbook. Some of you have worked on cookbooks or been working on one, or you can create your own elective activity. They also have lots of resources for you with the different ones. So lots of really cool things that you can be doing with with that program and so forth. When we look at some of the other ones too, for example, the rose mauling one, again, you can go to a YouTube playlist for that, and it will show different videos that you can watch to get some background. And then with going into the different units, then it will, just as in the others, it will go through the different ways that you can learn how to rose maul and basic strokes, and they have the different units and requirements. I also had pulled up the literature one because many of you, if you've been at home, you might be hitting the library, and also we're going to schedule some times for people to come in and check out books from our library. We also have some DVDs and some lecture series that are available. But with the literature one, with this one, you're reading 3 books by a Norwegian or Norwegian American authors. You're completing response forms. You're doing an elective activity. And so it has those forms for that. In the second part, you're focusing on fiction, poetry, and drama. So reading 5 works of fiction, poetry, and drama. And again, that elective activity. The third part, you're focusing on nonfiction. And so you're selecting books from at least 3 subcategories. So they want 5 works of a nonfiction by Norwegian or Norwegian American author, and so they have those. So we have lots of different opportunities for that. So again, as we look at the opportunities that we have for Sons of Norway, this is an opportunity for us to do that. So we really hope that you do that. So anyway, watch for more things to come in the next newsletter as we do our surveys and so forth. So anyway, we are going to wish all our August birthday people happy birthday, and all our August anniversaries happy anniversary. We obviously we miss not seeing everyone and wishing you that in person, but we hope everyone has a special day and a happy occasion. Officers and members, I thank you for your attendance and tuning into this meeting. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, September 9th. We probably won't be in person, so again, we'll record it and post it to YouTube. The Zoom business meeting will also be held on September 2nd. So thank you, and may peace and harmony prevail in our lodge. I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you for watching, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.